Hey guys, it's Fred. Thanks for joining us. Sheila's over on the sideline. Guys, we got a breaking news. We've seen these forums before. Sometimes you can't see something for looking at it. And that's about what happened. Sheila found some interesting information a while ago. We were resent these again. And as she's looking over them, she spots some things out. What did I do with that book, Sheila? Do you know?
It's over here.
Right here.
I'll get it for you.
And those notes right here.
I'm going to hand you both of them.
Guys, you're going to like this. This is going to be, you can see in the background there what it's going to be about, but I want to read you something here. It says, on Doug Asher's book on page 208, he says that autopsy was performed by the Assistant State Medical Examiner, John Huntsinker. At the conclusion of the procedure, it was Dr. Huntsinker's conclusion that Edrington's death was self-inflicted. Now, we've already covered that in the last video, part 2. But that was not Huntsinker's conclusion. His conclusion was that by his own testimony on WLEX News was undetermined. You're going to see on this form over here in a minute down below where it says natural accident, S-side, homicide, pending, undetermined. Thank you, bud.
You have it.
And the thing is, he never said, nowhere, has never said that it was, especially back then, that it was self-inflicted. This was written in Doug Asher's book, which was a bold statement considering the death certificate signed by Kentucky's chief medical examiner is homicide. Let's go on to the next statement. Laurel County coroner correctly refused to state on the death certificate the cause of death was homicide. He says that the Laurel County coroner correctly refused to state on the death certificate that it was a homicide. I don't know what some members of the staff, he goes on to tell this commissioner, but he says Huntsinker did not make any changes to the report as a result of the meeting. He didn't make any changes. He's trying to infer that Huntsinker's saying this was an S-side. Huntsinker never changed anything. Huntsinker says that it was undetermined, in his opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Now, on January 9th, 89, Laurel County Coroner Ed Bowling advised me that Dr. David Jones, Director of State Medical Examiner's Office, had contacted him the previous Friday. Jones had requested that no coroner's inquest be conducted at this time. This was no doubt requested because the command staff knew the coroner was going to rule the death certificate. The cause of death was a S-side. The reason behind this ploy was obvious to the coroner. See how when somebody's dead, you can say anything you want to say about them. They're not there to defend. Just like Johnny Edrington is not here to defend himself against the allegations that Doug Asher has made against him. The coroner, Ed Bowling, is no longer here to stand his ground. He's also deceased. The coroner was going to rule the death certificate, the cause of death, as S-side. Doug Asher wrote that on page 209 at the bottom of his book, that the coroner was going to rule it a S-side. It was obvious to the coroner. Guys, just like where he says there that the Mayo says that it was more than likely a S-side, but he's going to rule it a homicide. Like somebody would really say that, a professional. But let's go on here. We have got 2 certificates of death behind me.
Yep.
We've got 2. Doug Asher says Ed Bowling refused to sign the death certificate. He was going to sign it S side. Well, if you look at the one over here, right about right there, Ed Bowling, Laurel County Coroner, that's his signature. And he signed this. This is dealing with Johnny Edrington. And it's signed by the coroner. And if you look down to bottom right, I think that's what it says, probably right there. Pending. Pending. Doesn't say S side. Remember, Doug Asher says on page 209 of his book that the coroner refused to sign the death certificate, but he was going to sign it S side. They didn't want it signed S side. Don't say S side there. In fact, Doug Bowling, that's his signature as far as we know. Signed January the 9th, 1989. You remember on January the 6th, 1989, there was a big article in the paper. Lexington Herald Leader, all kinds of papers, but the Herald Leader.
I had that again at the end here of the video.
And somebody had said that Huntsinker, somebody had made an anonymous call to the newspaper. Somebody really had a dislike for Johnny Edrington. I don't know why, but they did. And they had made the allegation that it was a S side anonymously. Huntsinker come out January the 6th, 1989, and said, I have never told nobody this was a S side, because he had ruled it could not be determined. Now, the coroner here, Doug Asher says the coroner was going to rule it a S side. That's why he didn't sign anything or do anything. Well, it says right there, pending. Pending, the full forms up there. That's important, but let me explain something else to you. Look at the next line down, question number, I think it's 27. Was case referred to medical examiner? Yes. This is Ed Bowling, guys. This is your county coroner there in Laurel County. He didn't rule it a S side, like Doug Asher says. He ruled it pending, and he asked the state medical examiner's office, David Jones, state medical examiner, and the chief medical examiner, Nichols, George Nichols. He asked them, guys, help me out on this. This case is pending. Huntsinker, assistant medical examiner, associate medical examiner in training. He was young then. He was young. He was learning. He didn't know all the answers.
Right.
So he ruled it undetermined, could not be determined. The coroner ruled it pending, and they forwarded it to the state medical examiner's office. Now, George Nichols and the state police, they call in the FBI to look at it. The autopsy, they call in Vincent DeMayo, professional pathologist, to look at the autopsy, the pictures, review the entire autopsy. And he did. And all of them ruled it a homicide. And if you'll look at that date, on January the 9th, Ed Bowling, the Laurel County coroner, has referred this case to the medical examiner's office. So medical examiner's office took from January the 9th until, now he filed this report down at the bottom there. You'll see January the 10th. Ed Bowling actually filed this report with Frankfurt, January the 10th, where he's referred it. He's pending. And he's referred it to the medical examiner. That's on. He signed it January 9th. They signed it on January the 10th, where they received it in Frankfurt.
Okay.
George Nichols, medical examiner, got the FBI, got the DeMayo, got David Jones. All of them got together. They've all looked at all the evidence. They've ruled it a homicide. July the 11th, 1989. The date's right there.
Yeah. It's even got homicide check.
Look down at the bottom left. Homicide. And it was signed by Robert somebody in Frankfurt on July the 11th, the same day, where it's been filed as public record and as the official cause of death. You got something?
If you notice here, how it was.
Yeah.
Say his full name.
And that's one of the things, under the mistakes that were made and what Jack and Patty had got upset at Doug Asher over, because there was the wrong information was put on one of them. Just his initial was sent to the coroner. One of them, the military, had been left off. Guys, if you've ever served in the military and you've ever worked with somebody and you find out they were in the military, didn't that stand out to you? If somebody wore the same uniform you wore, Asher says he was in the Army. We know Johnny Edrington was in the Army. Wouldn't that stood out to Doug Asher? Would he have forgotten to put? And we posted in one of our first or second, third videos, the letter where Doug Asher had actually written a letter apologizing to Jack and Patty Edrington for messing up on certain things. He didn't mention the shirt that is still, as far as we know, missing. But he's apologizing for several mistakes that was made, said he would correct them. Why is that? Why is that? Two death certificates. One of them's marked pending. Huntsinker says he called it
Determined.
undetermined. Thank you, babe.
Yeah.
And then they finally determined that it was a homicide. And Doug Asher comes out 35 years later, writes a book, goes against all the evidence, all the professionals, medical examiners, world renowned, some of them, the FBI, that called it a homicide.
George Nichols signed one, right?
Yeah.
And then
George Nichols, the chief medical examiner,
signed the other one.
Ed Bowling signed the first one. And on the first one he signed it pending. Now, Doug Asher tries to imply in his book that the reason he didn't sign one was because they was wanting it put down homicide, and he wouldn't put it, and he was going to put S side. That Ed Bowling was going to sign it S side. That's what he says on page 209 of his book.
Right.
If I'm wrong, correct me, please. But yet, here's a Ed Bowling signature where he signed it as pending.
That's probably going to be flipped in the.
Oh, I'm probably looking at the wrong side then.
So it'll flip on you. I don't know if it'll be right or not.
Guys, look at it. Ed Bowling signed it, the Laurel County coroner, and he signed it on January the 9th. He signed it as pending, and he's asked the state medical examiner to review it. Was case referred to medical examiner? Of course.
So that is interesting.
And they reviewed it, and they come back and says that it was a homicide. Not only did they review it, Kentucky officials, medical examiners, they sent it to the Mayo, they sent it to the FBI. In his book, he says the FBI wanted all the photos, wanted all the information, all the autopsy. Huntsinker, Ed Bowling, neither of those two, as inferred in his book, ever called this a S side. In fact, John Huntsinker says it was not. He told the Lexington Herald Leader, I have never told anyone this was a S side. He denies it totally. We thought this was interesting. This is what you call physical evidence. Evidence that you can hold in your hand. Physical evidence. This is what proves or disproves a case in law enforcement. My head or my glasses, one are on sideways. I don't know. Maybe it's my whole head. Maybe warped. Guys, this is why the case needs to be reopened, ain't it, baby?
Yes, it does.
Or reassigned.
a lot of unanswered things and a lot of different answers.
Yeah. Well, you can't go by Doug Asher's book. Doug Asher has wrote one of the most slanderous, in my opinion, books. You're looking here at two different death certificates. Neither one of them coincides with what he says in his book. He says Ed Bowling said one thing. He says Hunt Sinker says one thing. He says, and neither one of these death certificates says that.
That's interesting.
Again, you can write anything you want to in a book, and you can say anything you want to about somebody that's dead. I feel you over there. But you can.
Yeah.
You can do that until somebody shows you proof otherwise. And we're not seeing the proof. It's to the contrary. It's to the contrary. Pending, unconclusive, and homicide. Nowhere in there has these three gentlemen, Ed Bowling, Hunt Sinker, Chief Medical Examiner Nichols, nowhere in there has any one of those three used the word S side. They've used pending,
yep,
which is one of the characteristics. You can look down here at the bottom.
Yep.
They've used undetermined, and they've used homicide. I don't know what the relationship between Doug Asher and Johnny Edrington was. I don't know what it was. Don't know. I can speculate. I can give my opinion. And in my opinion, it wasn't good. It wasn't a friendly one. Because Doug Asher, in his book, in those 5 or 6 pages, has done nothing but discredit, demoralize, defame, dishonor a military veteran and a Kentucky State Trooper. And why? For what reason?
Good question.
Good question. We don't know the answer. We're getting closer to finding out. And if all of us continue to work together,
it's the Lord's will.
Review. It's all in the Lord's will. It's all up to the good Lord, because 36 years we don't even have the file to work with. Imagine if us and you guys out there, the few of you that watches this, that is really hung up on this case and believes what we're saying, imagine if we actually had the file to look over. Because again, he says that it was unanimous. We know it's not unanimous. That's a clue. We know that William Stewart, from his report itself, doesn't go along with what Doug Asher says. We know that Ed Bowling, what he says about Ed Bowling doesn't go along with what his report says. His report says it's pending.
Yep.
There's his signature, and there's pending, not S side. I'm not going to beat a dead horse, guys. As we're still in search of a Smith & Wesson 686 357 Magnum. We need to fire one round with it. Sheila's going to post a video after this one, and you'll see why. So somebody out there, mostly a retired trooper probably, because back in them days, they let the troopers buy their gun when they switched over to semi-automatics. We need to fire one round. You can come here. We've got an indoor shooting range. You can shoot it. You can watch what we're going to do. And in fact, on this video, she's going to show you what we're going to do. May give you a better understanding. We want to show the people the difference in a recoil in a 357 Magnum and why that gun would not have remained in somebody's hand, contrary to what Mr. Asher says in his book that he performed scientific. We don't believe that neither, no more than we do some of these things that he says about. Y'all can't see her. She's over there, but her leg is reaching underneath this table and kicking me. Thank you, guys. Sheila, you're up.
Thanks for watching, guys. We hope everyone is well. Please like, subscribe, and share. And we'll catch you on the next one. God bless.
God bless. Thank you, guys.